Lucian Graves hadn't painted anyone he'd actually met in over a year. His subjects came to him only in dreams. They arrived each night, fully formed, strangers with impossibly specific faces. A woman with 4 moles in the shape of Orion's belt, a child missing only one eyebrow, a man with skin so pale it looked powdered, smiling without teeth. Lucian would jolt awake at odd hours, grabbing charcoal with shaking hands to capture the image before it slipped away. He didn't know who they were. He only knew he had to paint them. He filled canvases like he was possessed, layer after layer, face after face. He called the series The Sleepers, and something about it felt dangerous. Each portrait stared back with eyes that seemed too knowing. He tried to brush out the intensity, repaint their gazes softer, but his hand wouldn't allow it. The eyes always returned exactly as they were in the dream, unblinking, patient, waiting. One face kept recurring, a man standing far in the distance of every dream, featureless at first. But every time Lucian saw him again, he was closer. And now Lucian could see the details: white eyes without irises, a smile too tight for the face it wore, and hands always hanging just out of sight. Lucian tried to stop painting, just for a while. But that night he woke up to find a new canvas drying in the studio. The brush was still wet, and the man with white eyes was now almost life-size, still smiling, still getting closer. Lucian awoke to a sharp knock at the door, too early for visitors. On the floor sat a single black envelope, no postage, no return address. Inside, a thick, textured flyer embossed with silver lettering: The Sleepers, a private exhibition. 1 night only. Midnight viewing. Gallery Nocturne. His name was listed as the featured artist. His signature was printed at the bottom, but he never signed anything. Lucian's heart pounded. He hadn't shown the paintings to anyone. The canvases were locked in his apartment. The only person who'd even seen photos was his dealer, and he'd called the collection too unsettling to sell. Curiosity clawed at him. That night, he took a cab across the city to an address he didn't recognize. Tucked between 2 crumbling buildings was a sleek black doorway with no signage, no number. Just a soft glow pulsing beneath the threshold. Inside, the gallery was dimly lit, silent. Each wall was lined with his paintings, arranged chronologically. The lighting was perfect. The canvas detail, sharper than he remembered. But something was wrong. Some of the portraits had changed. A woman who once looked serene now wore a faint smirk. A child's eyes were subtly shifted, watching him now rather than staring blankly ahead. Brushstrokes he never painted. Color blends he never mixed. Lucian's stomach twisted. He stepped closer to the canvas of the man with white eyes. The grin was wider. The eyes followed him, and at the bottom of the frame a nameplate had been added: Still Dreaming. At the far end of the gallery, past rows of altered portraits and walls that seemed to hum with silence, Lucian saw a new addition. A room he didn't remember from the flyer, or the floor plan he had obsessively sketched the night before. A plaque beside the entrance read, The Reflection Room. The walls inside were covered in polished glass, floor to ceiling. No paintings, no spotlights, just Lucian. 1,000 versions of him, all reflected from every angle, bathed in soft, unnatural light. He stepped in. The door behind him closed with a quiet click. Lucian turned to face the mirror and froze. The reflections showed the gallery behind him, only it wasn't empty. His subjects stood there. All of them. Each figure from the Sleepers was present in the mirrored world, pale, still, and smiling. Some held hands, some tilted their heads in unison. None of them blinked. Lucian spun around, nothing. Just bare floors and quiet walls. But in the reflection they remained, watching him, closer now than the last glance. And in the back, the man with the white eyes stood behind the rest, hands finally raised. He waved. The gesture was slow and mocking. Lucian stumbled backward. His own reflection didn't move. Then, from all around him, reflected and distorted, the same whisper echoed through the mirrors. "You dream us alive." The lights flickered. The man with the white eyes stepped forward in the glass. But there was no sound, no footsteps, and no way out. Lucian burst through the gallery doors into the cold night, gasping like he'd surfaced from drowning. He didn't remember opening the reflection room door, didn't remember leaving. His chest burned, his hands trembled, and his mind throbbed with images he couldn't place. Back at his studio, he ripped the canvases from the walls, tore them from their frames, slashed through oil and linen with a palette knife. But each painting bled something strange, not red, but black, thick, slow. He threw them in the alley dumpster, poured turpentine over the pile, and lit a match. By morning, they were back on his walls, unburned, brighter than before. Lucian stopped sleeping. He drowned himself in caffeine, left the lights on, played noise to block out dreams. But after 3 days without rest, his body gave in. He woke up inside a frame. Lucian couldn't move, couldn't blink. He stood frozen in place, brush in hand, gazing into a dimly lit gallery he'd never seen before. People passed by, blurred silhouettes muttering in hushed tones. He tried to scream. Nothing. A young couple stopped in front of him. The woman tilted her head. "I like this one," she whispered. "His smile looks forced." Her boyfriend nodded. "It's the eyes. They look real." She leaned in. "Is he crying?" Inside the painting, Lucian's tears slid down invisible cheeks, silent and endless. Behind the glass, the man with the white eyes watched from the corner of the room. And for the first time, Lucian saw him holding a brush. Lucian woke in his studio, slumped at the easel. His head throbbed like he'd been underwater. For a moment, he thought it had all been a dream, until he looked up. The canvas before him was blank, but his hand was moving. He wasn't guiding it. His fingers danced over the surface like they belonged to someone else, painting with impossible precision. Brushstroke after brushstroke formed a shape he knew too well. His own face, but it wasn't how he looked now. It was him screaming, eyes wide, mouth stretched in terror. His reflection from the gallery, the version trapped behind the glass. Lucian tried to stop, tried to throw the brush, but his body refused. The canvas demanded to be finished. The air grew heavy, silent. When the last stroke dried, Lucian collapsed. The room darkened around him as if someone had pulled a curtain over the world. He awoke to a knock. At the door stood a delivery man holding a thin, covered frame. "You left this at the gallery," he said, handing it over without waiting for a response. Lucian unwrapped it. It was the painting of himself, screaming. But now he was smiling. Not the calm smile of a finished portrait. Something wider, wrong, predatory. He looked to the studio walls. Hundreds of portraits stared back at him, each one grinning, each one alive. And at the center, his final self-portrait pulsed slightly, like it was breathing. From the hallway mirror, the man with the white eyes stepped into view and whispered, "You're part of the collection now."